What's going on, everybody? Tom here with Black Sheep Keto, and welcome to the first video of 2020. Now, much like last year, this is going to be a crash course in the keto diet for those of you who may just be starting out or want a little bit more information on the keto diet. Now, I try to update these videos every year because the longer that I have been on keto, which is about 4 years now, and the more people that I've worked with and coached through starting on keto, the more that I really start to understand what makes a keto diet successful and sustainable. So I want to share that information with all of you guys. Now, your first question, if you're not familiar with me, is what qualifies you to give information on the keto diet? So I do have two awesome letters at the end of my name. It is a J and an R. That is not an MD, that is not a DO. Therefore, I am not a medical doctor and not giving medical advice. I'm just the guy who went from looking like this to looking like this through the use of the keto diet back in the 2015 to 2016 timeframe, and I've been running this channel to try to educate people on the keto diet ever since. Now, a couple things you may notice about the photo is, yes, I did have a beard, and it made for an awesome weight loss face transformation video. And secondly, you may be thinking, you're not quite as lean as you looked in that photo. And you are right, and I'm going to address that this coming Sunday. Which brings me to my next big point before I kind of get into the meat of this video, which is this Sunday I will be going live for the first time at 11 a.m. Pacific time. There are a few reasons for this. First of all, it is National Keto Day, so got to go live for that. Secondly, it is the beginning of the year, and some of you guys probably have some questions about the keto diet, and while I will answer them if you leave them in the comment section of this video, if you want to ask them live in case you have a follow-up or what have you, I will be live there to answer that. And the last thing is I did partner with a rather large company to do a pretty good sized giveaway for you guys in honor of National Keto Day. And while I am not allowed to discuss who that company is yet, I guarantee you that if you follow me on Instagram, watch that live stream, or watch the recap of it before 8 p.m. Pacific on Sunday, you will definitely become enlightened. But with that, guys, I'm gonna go and get right into the meat of this video. Now, I want to start this video by talking about what a keto diet actually is, because you'll see all sorts of things across the internet, but the summation of it really comes down to the keto diet is a high-fat, low-carb, and moderate protein diet. But what does that actually mean? Basically, you are lowering your carbs to a point where your body switches its fuel source from sugars to fats. That's really all it is. If you are in a natural state of ketosis, you are on a keto diet. People will restrict other ingredients for various reasons, which you'll probably learn as you get more advanced in this. But in the beginning, just understand you have to keep your carbs so low that your body starts preferring fat as a resource. And along with that, you can't be scared of fat. Your body needs it for energy when you're on this diet. You can't restrict carbs and fat. You really just have to allow your body to run on one of them. But beyond that, anything can really be keto as long as your body is in a natural state of ketosis. Everybody does the keto diet differently. I have done it so many different ways over the years. This is just the way that I'm talking about in this video because I found that the people that I've coached to get started on keto, this is what has made them successful. Now, in order to achieve that high-fat, moderate protein, and low-carb diet, we're going to need to track what are called macronutrients, or macros for short. And there are three main ones, which would be your fats, proteins, and your carbs. Alcohol is the fourth one, but we're not really going to talk about that right now. Now, the exact ketogenic macro breakdown is the subject of a ton of debate on the internet, and people will fight you tooth and nail, but you really just have to do what's going to work for you. Most people will say somewhere between 60 and 85% fat, and you try to keep your protein in that 20-25% range and your carbs pretty much as low as possible. Me personally, my body works best at around 70 to 75% fat, 20 to 25% protein, and then I try to keep my carbs as low as I possibly can, and mainly getting them from green vegetables and things like that. Now, you are going to have to track your calories in order to figure out these macros. So let's talk a little bit about the calories you need and how to get these macros from that. Now, calculating the exact number of calories you need to eat in a day is a little bit tricky, and quite honestly, guys, I can make an entire video just on that, and I have. But the reality of it is you're going to want to go online and find something called a TDEE calculator, which is Total Daily Energy Expenditure, which is basically a measure of the number of calories that you are going to be able to consume in an entire day mixed with the exercise that you do to keep your body weight the exact same. But since we're trying to lose weight, you're going to want to lower them just a little bit. So go ahead and find one of those calculators on Google. I'll probably even link one in the description here, and figure out how many calories you actually need to eat. And be honest about the working out, guys. For me personally, I choose lightly active, even though I do work out 5 days a week. I work a desk job, I write software, so I'm literally sitting all day, and that definitely means I'm not as active as somebody who's got a physical job. So just keep that in mind. And then you're gonna wanna subtract, I don't know, I usually start with a 300 calorie deficit, and that'll give you the number of calories you need to eat per day. Now, getting the exact number of grams that you want to eat per macronutrient in order to achieve that caloric goal is a little bit tricky to do by hand and probably more than I want to talk about in this video. So let's just use technology. If you go on your phone and download an app called Carb Manager, I'm not affiliated with them in any way, it's just the one that I use. There's a million apps like it out there. When you go through to set it up, you can actually type in the number of calories you want to eat per day and your macro ratios. So for me, I like to set mine at about 75% fat, 20-ish% protein, and around 5% carb. When I go a little bit lower on the carbs, I'll just make up for it with some extra protein. It works out pretty well. And that'll give you the exact number of grams that you need per each macronutrient, and it'll actually help you track your food right in there and show you a breakdown of what you've actually eaten and what you have left to eat. Now this really gets us to the point of talking about what to eat on keto. And thankfully for you guys, I am mostly a recipe creation channel, so there's a lot of good things to get you started at www.blacksheepketo.com. Click on recipes and I've got probably 100 of them on there that can get you started. But beyond that, and probably a bunch of other keto recipe creators out there on the internet, I recommend just kind of keeping things simple, at least in the beginning. You know, get yourself some nice meats, cheeses, eggs, leafy green vegetables. That stuff is going to do wonders for you, and it's actually going to help you with the adaptation process because you're not dealing with a lot of the artificial sweeteners and things like that. So I really recommend just keeping it simple in the beginning, and you'll start to learn what ingredients are keto and what are not based on my recipes or other YouTubers' recipes that you come across. When you're going shopping, just kind of take a look at the nutrition label. If there's a lot of carbs in something, it's not something that you're going to want a keto diet. So you may have to eliminate a lot of things that you want in your life. Soda's definitely a no-go. You can have diet soda, but some people don't like the sweeteners in there, but that's getting a little bit advanced. The whole point of this video is just a basic crash course, and the thing you need to know is just keep those total carbs low. Now there is something called a net carb, which you guys will see me use on my website and other recipes, and that can be a little bit advanced if you're just starting out, but what it really is, all it means is you're taking the total carbs minus your fiber, minus your sugar alcohols. And the reason for this is there are certain things your body can't digest and it doesn't really count as a carb. And having one of those tracking apps is really useful, especially Carb Manager, because it does calculate those net carbs for you. And keeping yourself under that 5% net carb really does give you a little bit more freedom to have things such as like a diet soda here and there, or really encourages you to eat those kind of vegetables that have a good fiber content to them. So I think net carbs are great if it's something you want to track, but if you're going to track total carbs, that's just as good, guys. It's less complicated, and honestly, it's probably going to put you into a deeper state of ketosis. But for those of people who want a little bit more of a challenge but want to have a little bit more freedom, net carbs are the way to go. And honestly, as I said a minute ago, the best way to calculate those when you're just starting out is just pop it in that app on your phone and it'll tell you the net carbs right there. Now there are two more things that I really want to say about food. First of all, plan. Guys, if you don't plan your diet, you're going to blow it. You know, what we like to do is on the weekends, we sit down and we come up with all the recipes we're going to have for dinner that week, and we usually bring leftovers for lunch, and that's kind of our life. I don't really eat too much breakfast. I usually eat the leftovers from dinner the night before for lunch the next day, but I've already put in my phone, you know, what macros I have, give myself a little bit of room for some snackage if I want to, but understanding what you're going to eat and not going home starving and having nothing planned is a really good thing. When you get home and you're hungry, you're just going to start grabbing whatever you can make, and if you haven't been doing this for long enough, it might not be the right foods. So planning those macros ahead of time is going to save your butt. Along with that, I like to bring some keto snacks with me. I'm a big fan of Kiss My Keto. There is a link to them down in the description, but I usually carry their bars or their gummies with me pretty much everywhere I go, and if I'm hungry on the go, I'll go ahead and eat one of those just to get me through until I get home to where I can actually make something. Now there are things you can get on the run from like fast food chains that are keto, and that's totally something for another video, but this way I actually know what I'm eating and I've kind of calculated it and it's all good. I don't have to worry about questionable ingredients. So the next thing that I want to talk about is things that you just absolutely must buy for a keto diet. Hands down, you will not succeed if you don't have these things. And that is absolutely freaking nothing. You need food, guys. Go to the store, buy some food. If you're into social media and you start like looking at Facebook, Instagram, all this, you're gonna see people posting crap that's like, oh, you know, this drink will put you into ketosis in 30 minutes and it'll help you lose more weight. Or, oh, this pill will make it so you can eat carbs and stay in ketosis and blah, 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 blah. It's all a load of crap. They're just after money, guys. It is one of those things where keto has become an industry now, but what I can tell you is when I started out in 2015, none of that stuff existed and keto worked just fine. The one thing that I'll say that like if you're into kind of wanting to confirm that you're in ketosis, and I don't really think this is necessary, but some people really like to know that they are succeeding at keto, there are a couple ways of checking ketone levels or blood ketone levels specifically. They do make urine strips, but I really don't recommend them because they're easy to fool with your hydration level, and you can either think you're not in ketosis when you are or think you are when you're barely. It's one of those things where I don't recommend those, but if you get a blood ketone meter, those are absolutely awesome. As long as you haven't taken any of those supplements that like are artificial ketones, you will be able to see if your body is making ketones, which is the fundamentals of a keto diet, right? Now, I'm not going to worry about the exact number on that thing, guys. If you pop your finger and get a little bit of blood sample and there's a number that shows up on the meter that is greater than 0, you are in ketosis, you are on a keto diet, you guys are kicking ass. So that's about the only thing that I would maybe even recommend. But beyond that, just spend your money on good quality food and screw all the supplements and stuff. I suppose it's not really fair to say that you don't need any supplements on keto, but you can do without them. Now, there are a couple things that you may actually want and are pretty beneficial to you, but you can just get them at your local grocery store. And those would be electrolytes. Now, there's something called the keto flu, and it's totally something that is absolutely blown out of proportion by people who are against the keto diet. And all it really is an electrolyte deficiency. Essentially, what happens in short is that you have less water retained in your body, and so you're retaining less electrolytes. So you can feel a little lethargic, you can get cramps, things like that. All that means is you need to take in more electrolytes. Don't be afraid of salt on keto. It's not going to hurt you. You need some potassium, some magnesium, and that's about it. Now, the potassium and magnesium you can totally get from like your dark leafy greens. Your salt, you're just going to get from salting your food and various other sources like that. But if you find yourself feeling lethargic or, having some cramping problems or just kind of feeling unwell and getting that keto flu type situation going on, there's something called Zip Fizz. You can buy it at like Sam's Club, Costco, places like that. It's like a little vitamin complex, and in there's like 1,000 milligrams of potassium, a good amount of magnesium. I like those. You can also just straight up buy the like pills and supplement them that way. But just make sure you're getting enough electrolytes, and that's really the only other thing that you might want to do is if your diet doesn't, have a lot of those dark green vegetables in it, you might want to supplement that. Now, there are really just 2 more topics to cover, but this next one is cheat meals. Yeah, that happens, guys. Everybody falls off the wagon from time to time. You'll see people swear up and down that they haven't had a cheat meal in a decade or whatever. I tend to usually doubt that, but even myself, guys, for the holidays, I had some cheat meals. It happens. Don't let it become a habit. If once a month you have a single meal that is not keto because, you need it for like that mental sanity, like it just kind of helps you feel better to have that one meal, it is not going to kill you. Is it going to probably lower your ketone levels? Yeah. Is one meal going to knock you out of ketosis? Probably not, but you'll recover very quickly. It's when it becomes like a 2, 3, 4 day thing that it really becomes a problem. Now, some people, they'll try this and they'll realize that, hey, if I ever break keto, it's really hard for me to get back on the train. And I totally respect that. But a lot of the people that I have coached through this, having that maybe once a month and then moving it to once every other month, having that cheat meal actually really helps them kind of focus on their goals. And when they're sitting at home and they're going, man, I really don't want to eat keto today, I really want this food, I have them write it down. And when that cheat day comes up, maybe it's the first weekend of every month, they can go back to that list and go, oh my God, that sounds so good, and you'll go get it. Now, the funny thing about all this is actually like food doesn't taste the same once you've been keto for a while. Those memories that you have like delicious nachos or whatever the case may be, you start realizing that it wasn't as good as you remembered and you stop wanting those cheat meals. And that's kind of the place where I'm at currently. And that's why like a lot of the people that I coach will start off with maybe once a month. They'll have a meal and then it'll go to 2 months, 3 months. And eventually maybe they don't crave it and it just kind of happens on holidays and whatever. And that's totally good. But don't beat yourself up about it. It happens, but use it as a treat and make sure you just don't go completely crazy with it. Now, the very last topic I want to talk about in this video is exercise. Do you need to exercise on a keto diet? And the answer is no. You really don't if you don't want to. My first 9-10 months on keto, I did not step foot in a gym at all, and I was still losing weight pretty well. Now, when I finished off my weight loss at 125 pounds down, I was feeling a little bit scrawny, like I'd lost a bit of muscle, things like that. So lately I've been actually like trying to put on some size here. And I would say probably 10 months into my weight loss, maybe 9 months into it, I started actually going to a gym. And I found that actually really expedited my weight loss process because not only am I like putting on muscle, which every pound of muscle you put on is an extra 50 calories you get to eat per day, which that's awesome. You're burning some extra calories there. So you can actually eat a little bit more or, be in a little bit more of a deficit if you choose to do that without having to taper off your food nearly as much. So I find that to be like a really good thing. But the real answer is no, you don't need to work out. There are a lot of benefits to it, but it's not a necessity. I recommend it. It'll help you out. But if you absolutely can't do it, you don't have time, whatever the case may be, just dieting, you will lose plenty of weight. Well, guys, I understand this has been like a 20,000 foot view of the keto diet, and that's really what it was meant to be. It's very hard to put so much information in one video. Now, if there's any specific things that you have questions on, go ahead and leave them in the comment section, and I will try to respond to you guys with as much detail as I can. Additionally, I will be going live on Sunday, which is awesome. And there's a video series that I made called Keto for Beginners, which I'll put a link in the card right there. Now, fair warning, some of the information on there is a little bit outdated. That was a phase of my life where I was like in a very, very strict keto diet. I was caring about every little ingredient. And ultimately I decided it wasn't really sustainable to do that for most people. So I've kind of loosened my thoughts on for most people, but there's some good information in there and things that you may want to research and make decisions of your own, which I really do recommend researching and learning as much about this as you possibly can. But the keto diet is a wonderful thing. There are so many different ways to do it. Maybe my opinion back then was it was a little stricter. It's a little bit looser now. But no matter what you're doing, if you are in a state of ketosis, you are on a ketogenic diet. And that is the main point that I want to make to you guys is everybody does this differently. You'll hear people like the keto police and trying to shut you down. Don't worry about them. If it is working for you, it is working for you. And that is all that frickin' matters. But with that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and close the video. If you like this video, leave it a like. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down in the comment section. And if you want to do me a huge favor, guys, hit that subscribe button, show me some love, and I will see you all at 11 a.m. on Sunday.